back. This is the tail end of the program right now, and we're discussing the issue of the Anti-Corruption Crime Act that is being amended right now. They are proposed to amend it by Honorable Peter Kaluma, trying to look at Section 64 of that particular act, and of course also looking at also what was being put forward by Geoffrey Ruku, that is the Public Procurement Act. There's a bill that he's come up with trying to also adjust some section of the act itself. But still, on the front page of today's editorial cartoon, as you can see, there is a Finance Bill 2023. Interesting that we can see Okiya Omtatah being held by the Chief Justice there with her gavel, and they are running away with the tie of the Finance Bill 2023. This is the current state of play as it is now. Ruto and the president or the deputy president there, they're stuck in that car wondering what do we do next now that now we have the car without a wheel. And this is the current state of play that we're waiting this week to hear from the courts, as it were. Remember also today is a big day for the CSs. They will know their fate, whether that particular office will be solemnized or it will be done away with. We'll know the outcome today. But we continue with the conversation around the issues of the pieces of legislation that are bringing a public debate. Orwa Makali, we were on you.
Thank you, Duba. Duba, what I was saying earlier is having listened to my colleagues, I think the issue we are addressing basically is what I call a trust deficit in terms of the institutions charged with the responsibility of fighting corruption. And, I could listen to Honorable Mbani talk about having had a session with the DPP, the EACC, yes. So that he impresses upon them to look at the Auditor General's reports. Auditor General's reports are reports which we are discussing 3-4 years ago. And most of these guys are looking for opportunities where they can also do their rent seeking. If I know Dubai was accused 4 years ago, I'm sure you are broke now, you have nothing. So why should I run after you? I need to run after the new cases where the money is still in your pockets and I can also do my rent seeking. So the issue is Dubai. To me, the question is, the body is charged with this responsibility. Are they also not corruptible? Are they not corruptible? That's a question. Because we've said it many times. For example, most of our county governments, anytime you go down there, you can just get information from the locals saying this has happened, this has happened. Then you hear officers from the ethics and anti-corruption come there for a week or two. They come out of that county, nothing has been, nobody is taken to court. I have good examples. I can tell you examples. So to me, I think even as we look at the officers, the public officers who are getting charged, let's also in turn look at what is happening within the commission itself. Because I think it's not a secret. Kenyans have come out and strongly said that the commission itself as officers who are also not good. They're actually involved in corruption issues. And you can't send a thief to catch a thief. It's very difficult. Because at the end of the day, they can conspire and say, you are a thief, I'm a thief. Let's strike a deal and we get this in benders. So even as you think about the legal framework, I don't think legal framework is good enough to sort out matters corruption. There are also moral issues. There are issues relating to, I think what we've not been very strong as a country in terms of the ethical aspect of it. And I wish the new chair now, who is a bishop, could focus more on the ethical component. Because it's ethics and corruption. The ethics, I think, as a country, the ethics part of it, we are not putting a lot of weight on it. And I think it's high time, rather than just thinking about the laws, we also thought of a way of strengthening the ethics part of it so that every Kenyan would know when I engage in corruption issues, I'm not doing the right thing for my country, I'm not doing the right thing for myself, and I should work hard. Even the Bible encourages all of us to work hard. It says very clearly, we'll all eat our own sweat, which means you can only eat if you work hard. We don't want to see Kenyans who are eating out of sitting. There are Kenyans who are very good just sitting at a table like this. They are cutting deals in the evening. Millions are already in their accounts and they have done nothing. We want to see Kenyans going out there and work hard so that we earn our money. In that case, we'll be helping this country. That would be my take on this.
Right. Yes. Honorable Mbani,
I wanted to
there's a question
you see,
that was put.
Senator Segei asked me a question about those who have been convicted, that's enough punishment. Yes, only if you're looking at it from the individual's perspective. But for the wider interest of the country, there's something more to it. And I wanted just to read two provisions of the law, the Constitution, under leadership and integrity. That authority assigned to a state officer, and I want to leave others, I just read, brings honor to the nation and dignity to the office, and promotes public confidence in the integrity of the office. So the first question you need to ask yourself is whether someone who has been convicted and has come out of jail, if he's put again to hold a serious public office, what honor are you giving to that office? Finally, under values and principles of public service, again under Article 232, it talks about the values and principles of public service. It includes high standards of professional ethics. So these are constitutional provisions. So apart from looking at the individual, look at also the wider interest of the society. If Mbadi has been convicted and then I assume an office the following day after leaving jail, then what picture are you giving? Some people will look at that office like, is this an office that would really serve our interest? So that is a high threshold that we gave to ourselves in 2010.
Right, thank you.
Totally agree with Honorable Mbadi on this one, because the context, and this is now an assignment to Honorable Kaluma on how he will prosecute his bill when it gets to the House, to the floor of the House, and also in terms of the public participation, so that people can get to understand the context of the desire to amend the law. But otherwise, it's true that we have had a very high threshold that has been placed by the Constitution as to ensure that the office, that is public office being held by any individual, is given honor and dignity. Similarly, the standard, and now the standard that is required of a public office holder, not only at that low level, everyone who is serving the public should be that which is without blemish, so to speak. I know it's a high standard, but that should be the intention, that should be the target, so that we enhance what Honorable my colleague here said about the deficiency of trust in public offices. One of the reasons why we have all these problems with our government institutions and public officers is because no one trusts. The biggest headache we had the other day about the finance bill and the housing fund is because it's not because people do not want to contribute. We are saying we have done this before. We don't trust that the government is going to utilize this resource, this fund, in the manner that will benefit directly the public. That way, we start from the office holder, going all the way to the role of that office. Then we gain the trust and we give honor and dignity to that office.
Thank you.
I totally agree with that. Thank you.
Let's rest it unless we've got any other issue. But I wanted just to ask the issue of the strangers in cabinet that we saw the president now roping in Hillary Chegai, Cleopas Malala. We had also Devin D and Monica Juma to be in cabinet, and questions were raised about Article 152 of the Constitution that provides the cabinet is comprised, I should say, of a president, deputy president, attorney general, and not fewer than 14 and not more than 22 cabinet secretaries. But in the footsteps of his predecessor, President Ruto has opened the apex organ to advisors, setting the stage for possible titanic court battle. That is what we had also the Standard headlining just last week. I want us to follow on this as well. And the issue of communication, I think, is very key when it was raised by Honorable Mbadi. People have been saying, looking at the article, of course, it's good to get advice. So are they part of the cabinet? Are they coming in the advisory role? So what is happening with the strangers in cabinet? Let's begin with you, Gladys.
Okay, just give me 1 minute to answer to the cartoon before I go
the cartoon, okay.
to your topic.
We'll come to the finance bill. Yeah?
Yes, no, but I just want to say, you had put the cartoon there, and the cartoon says Finance Bill 2023. In other press, they are calling it Ruto Tax Bill. First of all, it's an act of parliament, passed by parliament. So it's no longer a finance bill, does not belong to anyone. And then I say this as an officer of the court, great respect for the courts and their independence. This cartoon almost depicts as if the Chief Justice is in bed with Okiya Omtatah. But what must be known, and lawyers know this, when you go to court and apply for an ex parte an order ex parte, that means without the other party being heard, in most cases, the courts will give the conservatory orders at first instance. But usually they give you within 24 hours, you ought to have served, and then they can argue. So that upon hearing the other side, I have no doubt they will lift it. Because the whole thing that the country can shut down, the fact that that we do not shut they always weigh irreparable harm and damage. So usually they will see what is the damage if the conservative orders are retained. Means the country will shut down. But you can still litigate as it's being implemented. You cannot, yes. So, and remember and what will be at play, I've seen that they've sued permanent, I think the Minister of the National Treasury and the PS National Treasury, but they should actually also enjoin Parliament, because the job of the court is to check compliance with the Constitution and to interpret the law, and they will need to check the manner in which Parliament passed the Finance Act or enacted the Finance Act in order to see whether it was in compliance with the Constitution, all the various steps followed. So again, the impression that the finance bill has been stopped and so on is erroneous. Now let me go to the topic you had put there, that you're saying strangers in cabinet. Again, I think the Standard Group is setting the Kenya Kwanza government up, because when you say Malala joining cabinet, a case of trusted president's allies, when you put a headline like that, the advisors to the president have not joined cabinet. There is no appointment by the president making them cabinet ministers. The appointment of cabinet ministers is clearly set out in Article 152, Article 154, and Article 156, and it is clear. The fact, and I think if you look what transpired and created this story, is because they took the oath of secrecy. Anyone attending cabinet to make representations to cabinet or to be able to listen in order to take on notes, because they are probably going to help in the implementation and so on, they have to take the oath of secrecy. Even if you today had to make some submissions to cabinet, then you would have to take the oath of secrecy. So that is standard practice. But that has been turned out to create the impression to the public that the various persons have been appointed to cabinet. In fact, you just want to Okiya Omtata to start suing us again. So please, they have not been appointed. They have not been appointed. They are simply in attendance. Attendance doesn't make you a member of parliament, a member of cabinet. Membership of cabinet is a function of the law, and that has been complied with. So don't get the president at loggerheads.
That's what I'm saying.
With Omtata and the courts.
That's what I'm saying. Communication.
By misreporting. The communication is poor by the media.
Not by the media, but because even from the government itself, at least you should have made it very limpid, or it's not within the remit of government to make us be aware. Because people always question.
I don't think the government made any formal announcement. It was just photographs of them taking the oath of secrecy. It's photographs. There's no executive order or communication or anything to the public. So this is speculation by the media.
Speculation by the media.
Yeah. So let's keep it straight so that we don't just keep creating problems when we think we have resolved them.
All right. Let's hear from Badi. I think it's your turn.
You know, again, I read the Constitution. The National Executive, Article 130 of the Republic comprises the President, the Deputy President, and the rest of the Cabinet. And the composition of the National Executive shall reflect regional and ethnic diversity of the people of Kenya. These are provisions of the Constitution. Finally, what is this cabinet? Because it talks about President, Deputy President, and the rest of the cabinet. The rest of the cabinet is under Article 152. The President, the Deputy President, the cabinet consists of the President, the Deputy President, the Attorney General, not fewer than 14. So if you have 11, that is not a cabinet. And not more than 22 cabinet secretaries. So if you have 23, that is not a cabinet. So a cabinet is defined in law and the supreme law. Now, when you make someone a permanent fixture or a permanent in the commission, I mean in the cabinet, is taking oath of secrecy to permanently sit
As an advisor.
in the cabinet, to permanently sit.
But you don't know
in
if
the
they
cabinet.
permanently sit. You're speculating.
No, but you see, if they are supposed to be coming and appearing, they should take the oath of secrecy when they appear only.
Which is
Every
was the
other time,
case.
that's what they
Which
want.
was the case in this one, yeah.
for
But
that
even
particular
before
purpose.
this oath of secrecy, there was a communication that Malala is now going to be in the cabinet.
Without portfolio.
Was it in,
Yeah.
No.
So what I'm
No.
asking, you
No.
know, Uhuru made Tuju a member of the cabinet by appointing him cabinet secretary without portfolio.
Yeah.
But still the number 22 was respected. I would not have any problem if Malala, for whatever reason, the president feels he should be a member of the cabinet and makes him cabinet secretary and says without portfolio, whatever that means, he would still sit and still respect the definition of the cabinet as it is in Article 152. But if you are making some people members of the cabinet by default, by sitting there, continually taking oath of office and sitting, that is unconstitutional. And by the way, as Gladys says, this is a matter that can easily go to court.
no, that, but it's a creation
render-
of the media. It's not
and render the decisions made out of those cabinet meetings illegal and unconstitutional. Let us respect the constitution. I mean, Secretary General of a party can be communicated to. After all, there is someone we have made a permanent presence in the cabinet to take notes. The secretary to the cabinet. It's not defined in law. But because he works
So
in
secretary
the,
to cabinet is actually is
Is
set
not
out
a
in,
member of
no,
the
no.
cabinet.
Secretary to the cabinet is under Article 154, and they are required even to be vetted by Parliament. That is already set out in the
you
Constitution.
see.
But let us not make the mistake. I think what needs to come out clear here is that the advisors are attendees, not members of cabinet.
Yes.
Diban,
There, let him
Diban,
finish his point then.
Let me finish my point. Actually, the secretary to the cabinet, we never vet them. That is the war we had with Kenya when it was made, and we were overruled on that. Again,
There was Juma,
Again-
there was Monica Juma, who was the first appointed as secretary to cabinet. She then appeared before Parliament. Parliament declined to approve her appointment. That is how the president eventually appointed Joseph Kinyua, who then didn't come to Parliament at all. And that was a contention and subject of litigation. Those are different matters.
but you see, let me get back to my point. You know,
Okay.
this is taking away.
No, I worry when you
Cabinet-
mislead us.
Cabinet is defined in law under Article 152. And I don't see anywhere a secretary to the cabinet. Let me be very clear. Cabinet is defined as the president, deputy president, attorney general, and not more than 22 members of the cabinet, and not less than 14. If you want to make secretary to the cabinet a member of the cabinet, then appoint 21 cabinet secretaries and leave one slot for that secretary to the cabinet and make that person a member of the cabinet. There is nowhere under Article 152 where secretary to the cabinet is mentioned as a member of the cabinet, unless you give me, you give me that. But yes.
I don't know.
154.
You will allow me
But-
to
but-
just
yeah,
directly
yeah.
respond to him.
Yes.
Yes.
Dibala.
So he can take notes as the
He's not a member, I
secretary to the
agree.
cabinet, but he's not a member.
He's not a member,
Yes.
but there is a
So now,
process.
yeah, so you see that's why you are taking my time to argue my point. My point is, you can make Malala a member of the cabinet, but do it procedurally. If you want any of your advisors to be a member of the cabinet, do it properly. Because again, you can mention that he's a cabinet secretary, but the role you give is advisory to the president. By the way, no one says cabinet secretaries must be in charge of ministries. You can be a cabinet secretary sitting in the cabinet, but purely advisor to the president, if that is what the president wants. And by the way, sometimes I ask myself, why do we have these advisors? And you know, this bad manners has gone even to the counties.
Yes.
If you are appointing competent cabinet secretaries who are now supposed to be technocrats, and you have appointed competent principal secretaries and ministries of directors and professional people, technical, why on earth do we have these so-called advisors? You're just creating a heavy government for nothing. So in my view, the president, unless, and I'm not going to agree with the Gladys that this is the creation of the media, there is something that the president is not doing right. He's bringing strangers, as you put it, to the cabinet, which is unconstitutional.
So which is being raised by the media procedurally, has it been
Let me
followed?
correct it. Honorable Mbadi started very well by taking us to Article 130 of the Constitution.
Until
That speaks about the national executive. That was very well. He went on to Article 152, the cabinet. That gives us the numbers 14 and 22 marks. Minimum 14, maximum 22. That is the law. This document here, this constitution, if you read it in isolation, you'll miss out. When he reads 130 together with 152, he wanted to read 154 in isolation. The cabinet, the secretary of the cabinet have charge of the cabinet office under Article 154. Secretary to the cabinet is an office established in the public service, and 154.3a says the secretary to the cabinet shall have charge of the cabinet office. The cabinet office is the office that is established under 152 and 130 under the executive. So he's right to say we can't have more than 22 cabinet secretaries. That is the law. He's right to say the national executive comprise the president, deputy president, and the rest of the cabinet. That is what 130 says. He's not right then to say, therefore, we have gone against the constitution by having secretary to the cabinet become the secretary and in charge of that cabinet office. He's also wrong to say, therefore, that we breached the law when we have, because these three people, Malala and team have not been appointed to the cabinet. That was not the brief. And it is well put when you say it is communication. Somebody picks a communication and puts it in the context that he or she wants to sell it out to the public. What happened is what Honorable Shole has said. You have a member of the presidential advisory team that is permitted to sit at a point in time. I haven't sat in cabinet before, so I do not know whether they are permanently sitting in every cabinet meeting or not. But my speculation will also be that they are taking the oath of secrecy, because there are times they'll be allowed to sit for purposes of giving certain advisory, for purposes of the policy decisions which are being made or discussions which are being made. So none among those who were allowed to sit in cabinet have been appointed cabinet ministers. Otherwise, there would have been official communication. We don't have.
And they would have been brought to parliament.
A presidential memo. We don't have. They should have been brought to parliament for approval. It has not happened, and it can't happen. Why? Because they are not members of the cabinet.
But you know, Dibala, I can listen to my deputy speaker and the senator, but the question is, normally after every cabinet meeting, in most cases, there will be communication from the president's communication team, explaining to Kenyans what issues have come out of that meeting. How come on this particular matter, there has not been official government communication? We are speculating. All of us, we are saying this.
Because they are not appointed, simple.
The other thing is,
they are not appointed.
The other thing is the senator. If you look at 154, 2A, it says the secretary to the cabinet shall be nominated and with approval of the National Assembly appointed by the president. which means you can't hold this title unless you are approved by the National Assembly. So this is another case of breach of law also. A situation where the law is so clear.
Allow me to button. I can't see your mic. Maybe has dropped somewhere there.
While he's finding his mic.
While I'm fixing your mic. Yeah.
While he's finding his mic, is that and also when I think Honorable Badi has questioned the issue of advisors.
Yes.
Presidents and people in office have advisors the world over. Yes. From Obama to Lincoln to wherever, they've always had advisors for various portfolios. And even in a board meeting, a normal board meeting in a corporation, you'll find that the board members sit, but sometimes they can call in certain experts to sit in the meetings for certain agendas. And so it's normal practice, yes? And I think as we speak about this, I think what should come out clearly is that there's been no official communication. And the way Cabinet conducts its business is not legislated. So you can't say it's illegal to call an advisor to come and give a brief or explain something to Cabinet or to attend Cabinet, because that is not legislated. The way Cabinet is run is purely at the discretion of the chairperson of that Cabinet meeting, which is the head of state. Yes.
Okay, but what does it portend when it comes to, we've talked about trust, because we believe as...
and another point I need to explain is that I remember when I sat in the Assumption into Office Committee, I took representing the president-elect at that time, we all took the oath of secrecy. Same thing, we took the oath of secrecy at office of the president, so that because we were privy to the briefings that were being given on cabinet affairs and other things that needed to be transmitted to the president-elect. So this is standard practice. For example, if you attend the National Security Council meeting as a stranger to that committee, again you'll be expected to take the oath of secrecy.
But
except that some of they are not usually publicized. I think that is
top-notch, secret, confidential.
I still don't understand what Malala is doing in the cabinet. And I will read the same Article 154. The cabinet secretary shall be nominated but may be dismissed. The cabinet secretary's role is to be in charge of the cabinet office, be responsible, subject to direction of the cabinet, for arranging the business and keeping the minutes of the cabinet. C, convey the decisions of the cabinet to the appropriate persons of authorities. If Malala is going to be relevant in doing anything on behalf of the government, let him wait out there for the secretary to the cabinet to send communication from the cabinet. He's a stranger in our cabinet. He's making our cabinet look bad. Let the president appoint him a member of the cabinet if he wants to sit there.
Right. Because if you look at all these officials...
Because my mic...
Oh, yeah.
I think it's good.
You're right.
It's all your time. Fair to me.
Thanks. I forgot. Thank you.
Because I don't really raise... I think from what Honorable Bani is saying, the issue is, if you are my advisor on a matter, and I know this matter will come in our discussion in the cabinet, I would imagine you will have a session to brief me on that matter, so that when the matter comes for discussion, I'll be able to articulate the matter. Is this a situation where then those who are supposed to be briefed don't want to take the brief and they want the person who is supposed to be briefed the whole cabinet? Because I'm imagining, if I'm an advisor to the president, I'm not an advisor to the cabinet ministers. So I should be bringing my president before he goes for the meetings. And I think really what we are saying is the law is very clear. There are three people who were sworn in that day, who took the oath of secrecy. There were three, D, Malala, and the lady. I don't know, I can't remember.
Chagai.
Yeah, the Chagai. So to me, these are our advisors to the president from where we sit. And D heads the economic team. Chagai is advising on which area? Women issues. Yes. And Malala is the Yuda Secretary General.
Monica Juma.
He might be advising on political issues, the party issues. So the question is, question is, do you need to go and sit there and then be able to talk direct to the cabinet ministers in terms of advice? I think in a procedurally, even the fact that we have not legislated on how cabinet meetings could be conducted, I imagine best practice demands that if you are my advisor, just advise me and then I will take your advice. And I like what Barney said, because the thing is, if the cabinet, after the meeting of the cabinet, then you can convey that message to whoever is responsible. Because I think what we are saying, Dibao, is the law says the cabinet clearly how many people should sit in that cabinet. And I think there was a reason. They said they didn't put 30, 40, or 2. There must have been a reason. So let's not dilute that reasoning behind why a cabinet should have 14 and 22. There are serious things are discussed in the cabinet. We don't want a situation where we start getting cabinet discussions everywhere. I've been discussing in bars because you're having people who might not be able to take that weight off. In terms of thinking.
Yes.
So to me, I'm imagining, let these advisors advise the person who's expected to advise, and that person make a presentation in cabinet meetings. If there is need for further briefing, you can do that after the meeting. But you don't want to see a cabinet where people are standing, we see hundreds of people surrounding. Ministers will start coming with their advisors.
Right.
Yeah. And to me, that's what...
Gladys, just last week we were discussing regarding Malala's sentiment that he wants to sort of go about the country taking a straw poll to sort of vet the cabinet. And here he is actually sitting now with the same cabinet that he wanted to vote. We wanted to bring the issue of credibility at the end of the day. I mean, we know Monica Juma in a capacity as advisory to the president on matters of security. We know Harriet Chagai, a capacity to women's rights. We know David Dish, he's an economist. I mean, what input does Malala bring to the table? I mean, we know from the Constitution, cabinet is supposed to be apolitical. And this is a UDA party. It's not even a center of multi-party democracy. If we have the party then that is presented by the UDA, the ODM chair will want also... you want Sifuna to be there as well. You'll have other... let me just execute my point. Yes. And knowing who he is, I remember from the scriptures that we had the seven sons of Scevas, that they said, Paul we know, Peter we know, yeah? But who are you?
Who are you?
Yeah, trying to cast out in the name of Jesus. Paul, we know. So who is Malala in this cabinet? What input does he bring?
Okay, you know, I think Dibal, you know me very well from your NTV days. I am extremely factual in everything that I say. And I think when we speak about Malala supervising or auditing the performance of ministers, that I said is not legitimate.
Yes.
Okay? In him being an attending cabinet, yes, that I agree with because that's the discretion of the president. But again, I am stating that it's not been communicated that he's a member of cabinet. In any case, cabinet is already at the ceiling of 22.
Even on an advisory role, that's what we're asking.
Yeah, no, advisors are not members of the cabinet. When you attend, attendance is not membership to the cabinet. Let's not confuse the public.
You know, we've agreed on that.
Yes,
we are on the same page.
Then you're asking, what is his role in attending cabinet? Remember, the cabinet is I mean, this is a Kenya Kwanza government. Kenya Kwanza has a plan, or what is commonly known as a manifesto. You want to be able to ensure that that party manifesto is being implemented as promised to the electorate. Because what government is doing now is delivering on what they promised the electorate. So yes, it is in order to have him attend cabinet for those purposes, because there is a link in that sense.
Dibal, allow me also to just add my voice to it. And this is in comparison to other jurisdictions, for example, in terms of who attends the cabinet. I was looking at the structure of the United States of America. Besides the 15 cabinet representatives of the various departments, so to speak, there is a host of other members who attend the cabinet, including an equivalent of our NEMA, head of Environmental Protection Agency, sits in the cabinet. The Council of Economic Advisors sits in the cabinet, Director of National Intelligence, and the ambassador to the US in the UN. All this sits in the cabinet, not as members of the cabinet of the United States of America. Attends, yes. Not as members of the cabinet of the United States of America, but attends because of, I believe, the importance of the offices they hold vis-a-vis the role that the cabinet would do, and also the policy decisions that are generally made. So in juxtapositioning the 4 individuals who were permitted to be attending, it is the same thing. Advisor on women affairs, remember we are dealing with the 2/3 gender rule in compliance with the requirement of the Constitution as a conversation that is very active, ongoing. Issues on security, Monica Juma, she's the advisor on it. We're dealing with the economy, and we are seeking to implement an agenda or a manifesto that was sold to the people of Kenya, leading to the government of the day coming into office. So when we say they are strangers, there is a creation of those who are communicating. That's a creation of the media. That's a creation of those who want to challenge the allowance of these people to attend the cabinet. But the bigger picture and the objective is what is missing. Why? And it is what I've tried to answer. It is because the mandate of the cabinet to sit and discuss and approve certain policies would be enriched by their presence. So, because none of us here has attended cabinet or are attending the cabinet, what we are saying is we are factual here that we haven't received any official communication that they are members of the cabinet, but they were allowed to be sitting, or rather to be attending.
Right, thank you. Let's,
we are
on the tail end of the program, yes.
Cabinet is our cabinet. There is no Uda cabinet, there is no Kenya Kwanza cabinet, there is no Azimio cabinet. This is the cabinet.
Like the choice of words. Our
this is cabinet of the Republic of Kenya. And so we have a say in it. We decided to define what cabinet is. And I want to say, you know, business in the cabinet is transacted through cabinet memos. And these come through cabinet secretaries. So what are these advisors bringing to the cabinet? They are not bringing any document, because if it is indeed the document on economic issues and policy must come through the Ministry of Treasury and National Planning, Finance and National Planning. So if indeed he also brings another document, I don't know what it is. But finally, I want to say, there is a reason why we restricted this number. Apart from cutting on cost, we didn't want the president to be bringing business associates to sit in our cabinet, girlfriends and boyfriends. So what would stop me, if I'm the president today, from bringing my girlfriend to the cabinet if we don't control it? We must control
if your girlfriend is an advisor
who comes to the cabinet.
If she's qualified.
By removing these people we call advisors, we should remove them and have the cabinet sit as a cabinet.
Does that really undermine the trust of the cabinet? Because if the president, people will wonder, I mean, all these cabinets you've actually appointed, do they really pass metal? Do they really pass muster? Why would you be seeking? Or the question, maybe the better question will be, was this particular attendance a one-off? Or is it regularized that they will be appearing in cabinet? Is it a one-off? They were seeking the views of Shegai, of
this
Nancy.
This has been happening for years. It's just that you didn't know about it. It's just that this government is very transparent and informs you of when they hold cabinet, how often they hold cabinet. In fact, they've been sending out communique of what they have done each time. So that is, and this is pure speculation. Like I said, there is no law governing the way cabinet is run operationally. So that is not you'd never know it. That's why people take an oath of secrecy. So it just happened that the people taking the oath of secrecy was made public. But usually on a normal day, you don't know who has attended cabinet.
We need to be winding up right now. So let's just get our headline thoughts. But even as we're winding up, maybe you should consider the fact that we have breached the 10 trillion shilling mark as far as dairy is concerned. And I wanted just to get sentiments. We can begin with you, Gladys. I can see you want to actually ran away. So let's just begin on that particular note as we're winding up. And the question that has been raised by the Auditor General is the fact that there is no record of our actual figure that the debt is standing at. So the question is, all these figures that we have, 10 trillion shillings, 9 trillion shillings, we've breached, where is it coming from? If there is no official document showcasing this, and that is a pure worry. Where are we really speculating? Yeah.
I think that's a very good question that you should place before Honorable Mbadi as chairperson of the Public Accounts Committee. Let us forget what the media is writing. That is speculation. I want Honorable Mbadi. He has the power to summon the Minister the cabinet secretary in charge of the National Treasury to appear before his committee and ask, could we get all this? He can also invite the audit. You can also summon the Auditor General. So, in fact, what you do next week, he probably have summoned them or has sent them a communique. Then he can give us an authoritative answer. So, I refuse to discuss what I saw in the media. I will wait for Honorable Badi to inform me. It is his job. That's his oversight role.
The Speaker is giving instructions.
I'm giving directives.
but you see, Dibal, well, I know there are records for public audits. They may not be accurate, but do I continue?
Yeah, continue.
Yeah, they may not be accurate, but there are records, and that is a debt office. But we have had issues with whether they are accurate, because we are not even capturing some of the debts that we consider as debts, like amounts owed to suppliers and contractors and all that. We need to update. But on your point, we have gone beyond 10 trillion or nearing there. I agree with that. You know, let me just tell you, Dibal, and that is why I was saying I don't want to share this optimism by my Kenya Kwanza colleagues. From September 30th to April 30th, this country has borrowed 932 billion.
Right. I don't want us to go to that particular Pandora's box. But can we pick it up for next week? For that particular, we begin on that particular note. You've been given an assignment by the Speaker. Yeah.
Go and work on that. The Speaker knows I have to take more time than 1 week to look at that.
So that he can brief us.
But anyway, it's okay.
Let's just get our headline thoughts. Yeah.
We share our optimism and pessimism next week.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Your headline thoughts, though? Yeah.
Let me wind my parting shot by saying what I should have started with. That what we saw in Londiani is very grisly. And you know, there's something that I didn't like in some of the communications. When we start saying these people, what were they doing by the roadside? I mean, let us not shift blame from reckless drivers and those who are supposed to enforce laws and transfer it to innocent Kenyans who are walking around and doing their business. You see, even madmen cross roads, but they are not supposed to be hit. By motorists. So let us be careful on our roads.
Indeed.
You have a responsibility as a driver to drive carefully. These people have been doing their wares around by the roadside for so long. They are not dying. You come and kill them, and then someone wants to shift blame to victims. I found that very responsible.
Thank you, Bad. Dr. Makali, your parting shot, briefly.
Yeah, just before I give my parting shot, just to remind Kenyans that we have a new committee in town called Public Debt and Privatization. It's a parliamentary committee where I'm the vice chair.
Oh yes, why did I forget that?
We actually did table a report on Thursday, and most of what is written here is informed by that report, which was tabled by my chair on Thursday. The issue of public debt is an issue of concern in the country. Now, this committee is doing a lot of work in terms of trying to find out what is happening. We are consulting all these Auditor General, Control of Budget, Treasury, and we'll be giving Kenyans much more information in terms of public debt as we move to the future. And I like the debate so that when we come Monday, let's start there. Then we can put the fact on the table.
Something.
But things are not working very well. To the country, we still have a country to live in. We love this country. Less the issues of salaries, as we said when we were setting, the lower level Kenyans who are earning low salaries get more money. Leaders, for now,
thank you.
To take a break,
Thank you.
Thank you. The launch last week on Friday by the President on the eCitizen platform on Gavam Kononi is one of those things that we will look forward to and continue the optimism that my colleague here is not very keen on. We need to be very optimistic. Even as an accountant, be optimistic that tomorrow your accounts will be better, because Gavam Kononi will leave no Kenyan behind. Gavam Kononi will ensure that a number of services, over 5,000 by probably January. The anticipation is that by January next year, we'll be having over 8,000 services on the platform. Corruption will be out. A lot of Kenyans will not be required to travel from point A to B, from Bomet to Nairobi for passport acquisition. That way we'll be reducing the cost of living, and that hope will give us an opportunity to live, to see a better Kenya, a better tomorrow.
Right, thank you. Gladys, your parting shots, finally.
Yes, I think I just want to also implore upon Honorable Badie and Honorable Makali, let's be optimistic. Let us give the president the benefit of doubt to try. You've seen that some of the programs and interventions, support them. Then only wait if they fail to be able to become negative. And I always say, I choose to be an optimist because a man without hope is dead. So you could spend the next 12 months being dead because you're hopeless. And I think as a leader, you should not sell hopelessness to Kenyans. I believe Kenya has a bright future. We've got the strongest economy, despite the challenges.
Tell the deputy president to tell our graduates.
Yeah, despite the challenges that we have, despite the challenges that we have economically in this country, we still have the strongest economy in the sub-Saharan region.
Right.
So let's be fair to Kenya.
Thank you.
And the interventions that are coming are real ones. When you look at the issue of even carbon points, Kenya's being able to get into that area. Look at the number of trade negotiations the president has been involved in. To think that the subsidies became real, the Hustler Fund has become real. The services, because most Kenyans will tell you where they were suffering is that they have to bribe to get a passport, they have to bribe to get an ID, they have to bribe to get a death certificate, they have to bribe to get a birth certificate. Just putting that under Gavam Kononi, believe me, is going to be the game changer.
Thank you. Right.